Hello everyone, this is Siddhant Ray here. This is part 5 of the series of basics of Python programming language. This video covers the nested loops, break continue pause, lists, and 2D lists. So without any further ado, let's begin coding. Let's start off with the first topic of the day, which is nested loops. So I'll just comment out this piece of code. So basically the main topic is nested loops, and the reason why nested loops are used is for the main topic, which is called iteration. So what iteration does is, so for example, I want to print out something like this at or I'll just yeah at again. So if I want to print this out, like only this much, exclude the hashtags. I just want to print out like a rectangle. It won't be a rectangle, it'll be a square because there's 4 columns and 4 rows. I want to print out something like this. There's obviously 2 ways of printing it out. I can just do print like the regular method, which is the manual one, and then I can just leave a line. Then again I can print at then I'll again leave a line, and then I can just copy the code again, which will eventually do the same thing. If we run the code, it'll print this out. But now the issue is, because it leaves a line, it leaves such a big gap in the middle. We don't want the gap. So for fixing that, we need to do something through this thing called nested loops. So what nested loops does is, the outer loop always has the number of rows. The inner loop always has the number of columns. So let's begin with the coding part of it. So I'll just write a code for, so because rows starts with R, so for R in range rows, then for C in columns, sorry, for C in range columns, then pay attention to the indentation. I'll have to print out the particular symbol which you want, or the special character, followed by end is equal to this. So before this, I forgot to put in the main part of the code, which is like an input for the rows, columns, and the special character which you want to put. So I'll make an input called rows is equal to int input, enter the number of rows you want in your special character diagram. I'll make a similar one for the columns. Columns is equal to int input, enter the number of columns you want in your special character diagram. Lastly, I'll define special character is equal to input. So I'm not typecasting this because this can be any kind of input. Enter the special character / symbol that you want. So this is done with taking the inputs. So as I said, the outer loop is always for the rows, the inner loop is for the columns, and then I print out the special character followed by an end. Lastly, because I want to leave a line, I just print an empty row. I'll just print an empty print statement. So I just forgot to tell you one thing. What this print statement does is, it'll print out the special character and this end. These both are used to prevent the cursor from moving on to the next line, and only move to the next line when the special characters are done and when the end requirement is satisfied. So let's run the code and check how this works. So if I want, for instance, I just want to print this out. So this has 4 rows. It has 4 columns. The special character is at. As you can see, it printed out this with so much of ease, with those lines excluded. As we had observed in the start, when we had manually printed out the at the rates at the 4 at the rates in one line, there was a massive gap between the first line and the following line, between any line and the following line. So that gap is also avoided because of this end statement and the special character print statement, and and we are able to write that code in a much shorter frame compared to that one. Obviously, that one was 8 lines, but for example, if we have to print out something like, if we have to print around probably 8 rows and then 7 columns, and I want to print out like this. So this is really long, right? And writing a print statement with that, plus you have the gap. So obviously, the iteration method using nested loops is much better. So this was another very simple concept in Python programming. So yeah, that was it for the nested loops. I'll now let's move on to the break, continue, pause functions. Now let us understand the break, continue, and pause functions in Python programming language. So once again, I'll comment this piece of code out. Now, so what does break, continue, and pause mean? So break, it is used to terminate a loop entirely. Continue is used to skip to the next iteration of the loop, and pause basically does nothing. It acts as a placeholder. That's basically what break, continue, pause is. You'll understand better with examples. So now let's understand the break function first. So while true, I'll ask a name for an input. Input, enter your name or you are not leaving this loop. Let me just ask age because age is more convenient. Now pay close attention to the indentation. If age is not equal to this, that means if age contains something, then only the function terminates. That's when the break thing comes in. And if the age does not have anything, then it'll keep going on in the while loop, and it'll eventually just keep asking the user his or her age. I have to put in the colon again. Yeah. So for example, I want to put in my age. I don't want to put in my age. Now I've realized I'm not escaping this loop until I put in my age. So I'll just put in my age. And now finally I've exited the loop through the break function. So to explain this code in brief once again, while true, so you put in your age, like it asks you an input, it asks you to input your age. If the age is not equal to nothing, that means if age contains something, then only it will terminate the loop. Otherwise, it will again return to the while loop and it'll keep asking you the age. Let's run it once again to now relate it with the code and understand how it works. So I don't want to put in my age. No, no. So at this point, because the age is not equal to anything, it does not reach this code only. It keeps on continuing with the while loop. So again, this. Now let me put in 16. So now because age is not equal to nothing, that means age has something in it. Then only it'll break the code and it eventually escapes the while loop and it breaks the code and it terminates the code entirely. So that was it for the break function. Now let us understand the continue function. Now let us understand the continue function. So as I had mentioned, the continue function skips to the next iteration of the loop. So for example, I'll just give a variable called name. So name is equal to Siddhant_Ray. So for index, I'll use for loops for this. For index and name, if index is equal to underscore print name, comma, end is equal to double quotes, and then it eventually it'll be continued, and then we'll escape the for loop, and then we'll print name, we'll print index, comma, end is equal to double quotes, close the bracket. Let's see how the code works. Oh, I'll have to put in the colon. Yeah. So as you can see, it just printed out my name, Siddhant Ray. Now, if I just wanted to print out my name, let's see how this works out. Now this printed out my name by putting the cursor onto a new line each time. So when I just put in end is equal to this, it prevents the cursor from going into the new line, and it eventually prints out my entire name on one line. So that's how the continue function works. Basically just skips to the next iteration of the loop. So yeah, that was it for the continue function. So now let's understand the pause function. So the pause function is relatively simpler than the break and continue function, which weren't difficult either. So the pause function does is, which I explained earlier, it does nothing but acts as a placeholder. So let me define a for loop again. So for index in range from 1 to 50, and then the step is 1. If index is equal to 13, it'll pass. So if there's a 13, I don't want the 13 to get printed out. I want it to pass. And then else print index, comma, end equal to this. So let's remove the end for now. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the number 13 is not mentioned because I purposely told it to pass, and it acts as a placeholder over here. So now let me just put the end function over here. As you can see, it printed out all of them on the same line. It prevented the cursor from moving into the next line when printing out these numbers in the range. And between 12 and 14, you can't see a 13. And if I just replace it with any number, like if I want any number, like 20, I don't want 29 in my thing. So between 28 and 30, there's no 29 anymore. And if I remove the end, it'll again function in the exact same way. So as you can see, the 20, between 28 and 30, there's a gap, and there's no 29 anywhere in the entire code. So that was it for break, continue, and pause. So since the video was getting really long, I decided I'll make lists and 2D lists as a separate video. So that was it for part 5 of the basics of Python programming language, where we covered break, continue, and pause, and we covered nested loops and iterations. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys liked the video. If you liked the video, please smash the like button. Also, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Siddhant's Coding World. See you soon, everyone. Bye for now.